Hey everyone, and welcome to my review for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1 Episode 3, The Squire. Another good one this week that really moved the story forward and showed us a side of Egg we didn't really get in the books, which I very much enjoyed. So let's get right into the positives, starting with all the bonding moments between Knight and Squire throughout the episode, like Dunk teaching Egg to sew, cooking and eating their breakfast together, joyfully watching the jousts and their conversation as they sat on the hill overlooking the tourney grounds, where Egg mentions he would like living this way and Dunk was on the verge of agreeing the boy could continue as his squire after the tourney. A lot of this was great, and I particularly enjoyed Egg singing the Blackfire Rebellion song, and Dunk throwing up all morning because he thought he was gonna compete, only for Egg to correct him that knights of high birth and renown challenged on the first day. There was also Dunk continuing to embarrass himself in front of Tanzel Too Tall as he mimicked a goose laying eggs while buying their breakfast, and Dunk explaining his origins to Egg, about how he grew up in Flea Bottom, selling any meat he could to the shops that sold bowls of brown to the poor. Although the story of Dunk's younger years in Flea Bottom comes right from the books, many of these other bonding moments are only from the show, but still came off really well as we got to see the relationship grow significantly in a short amount of time. And the actors themselves are really killing these roles, as they're pretty much exactly how I pictured Dunk and Egg. Then there was Aerian's disturbing joust against Sir Humphrey Harding, where the prince purposely lowered his lance to kill his opponent's horse, which then fell on Sir Humphrey, breaking his leg. This was hard to watch, but done really well, as Aerian came off so incredibly unlikable. And as is often the case with this show, the event was largely faithful to how it happened in the books, which gave us a few more additions and details, like how after the injury, Aerian jumped off his horse and tried to attack Sir Humphrey with his sword, but was pulled back both by his and his opponent's squires. There were also many people that tried to help Sir Humphrey, but couldn't get close because the horse thrashed violently. The last positive I want to mention here is the fun party scene with Lionel Baratheon and Manfred Dondarrion singing a song about a woman with 3 fingers who specialized in pleasuring men, which led to a fun conversation between Dunk and Egg about whether this woman really existed and what could be learned from her story. Moving on to the negatives, I don't really have any. Like I mentioned last week, some of the comedy doesn't really land for me, but that's a very minor complaint that doesn't really affect my enjoyment of these episodes much at all. Now, for my top 5 moments, I'll start with the very interesting fortune teller scene, where she foresaw Duncan will know great success and be richer than a Lannister, while Egg will become a king who dies by fire. Poor Egg looked so freaked out by this prophecy, while Duncan found it amusing, not believing a word and simply moved on without a second thought. I'll talk a bit more about the prophecy later in the video, so for now I'll just say it was fascinating to hear. For the 4th best moment of the night, I'll go with the Master of the Games approaching Duncan on behalf of Lord Ashford, who overspent on the tourney and wants to arrange for his son to lose on purpose against Sir Duncan, so they can bet on the underdog hedge knight and win a hefty sum. This would be very beneficial to Dunk, since he would have a guaranteed win and get the horse and armor of a lord's son, which would be worth a small fortune. But of course, Dunk is an honorable man, and so doesn't like the idea of getting a win he hasn't earned. This storyline wasn't in the books, but did add an interesting twist to the narrative so far, as Dunk was really presented with a very alluring opportunity with so much potential benefit to him. Although it seems likely he would say no, I like that he's really thinking about it and struggling with the decision. At the number 3 spot, I went with the training scene where Egg wakes up early and sneaks off with their horse and weapons to practice for the jousts, ensuring their horse can run when it's supposed to and that he can carry the weapons to his master as he's supposed to. Then we met a cool new character for the show, Sir Robin Riceling, who's a bit different than I expected as we don't get many details about him in the books, though they did accurately portray how he lost his eye and that he's religious. I really liked his character here and hope we get to see more of him soon. For the 2nd best moment, I chose Dunk drinking with Raymond Fossaway while Egg attends Tanzel's puppet show. I'm really glad they included this as I thought the Baratheon tent scenes were replacing it, but boy oh boy did this conversation go longer and more in depth than it did in the books. Although some of the topics were the same, like bad-mouthing Aerian and talking about Maekar's sons, including a reference to Maester Aemon, I was surprised and very amused to hear Raymond's rant against the Targaryens, accusing them of being incestuous aliens who have enslaved their people and dragged them into wars without any respect for their history or culture. It was refreshing to hear such an honest and direct rebuke of their Targaryen overlords, and I can't really disagree with much of what he said, though he did say all their kings were insane, which isn't quite accurate, as by this point in their history they actually had produced a few good kings, like Jaehaerys I, Viserys II, and the current king Daeron II, though even under good kings there were still wars and hard times. And finally, we get to the best moment of the night, as Egg interrupts the conversation between Dunk and Raymond to inform him Aerion was hurting Tanzell. This actor who plays Aerion is really doing a good job of making me hate him, as all the fun and happiness of the puppet show quickly ended when he entered the tent. You can see the look of horror on Tanzell's face when she sees him right after pretending to kill the dragon on stage. And as terrible as it was watching Aerion break her finger, it was very cathartic to see Dunk burst in and thoroughly kick his ass before the guards stepped in to detain him. And then we get the big moment so many of us have been waiting for, when Egg runs in to stop them from hurting Dunk by revealing he is Aegon Targaryen, younger brother to Aerion, son to Maekar, and grandson of the king. This was a great scene, very accurate to the books, even including details like the names of the guards and that Stefan and Raymond Fossaway entered the tent behind Egg with their weapons at the ready. For the best fight of the episode, I definitely have to go with Duncan beating the hell out of Aerion before the guards held him back. And for the best line of the night, I go back to the prophecy scene, when the fortune teller told Egg, "You shall be king, and die in hot fire, and worms shall feed upon your ashes, and all who know you shall rejoice in your dying." Going into some spoilers here, this was a very interesting line that is not in the books but pretty accurately portrays the fate of Egg, who grows up to become King Aegon V and famously dies by fire at Summerhall while attempting a ritual to hatch dragon eggs. But what I found most interesting was the line that all who know you shall rejoice in your dying, which at first didn't make sense because Aegon V was a beloved ruler who gave more rights to the small folk. But then I thought about it, and it actually does make sense, because while he was loved by the commoners, he was hated by the nobles, who felt he helped the poor at the expense of the rich, and as a result he faced many insurrections throughout his reign. So I think the prophecy was about how the nobles of Westeros rejoiced when they heard of his death, because then they could reverse his reforms and regain their power over the peasants. Overall, this was a very great episode I really enjoyed. The story is definitely moving forward and in a positive direction, so I'll go high with my score and give it a strong 9 out of 10. And that's it for my review of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1 Episode 3, The Squire. But what did you all think? How do you like Egg's training scene and bonding with Dunk? What did you make of the prophecy? And what do you think of Prince Aerion and the fight at the end? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out my other A Song of Ice and Fire videos related to the show, like the history of Daeron II, the spoiler-filled complete history of Sir Duncan the Tall, and spoiler-free prelude to A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. All these videos and more will be linked in the comments below, and be sure to come back next week as I'll be continuing these weekly reviews until the end of the season. So for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Drac the Bronze, Warden of the X Christ Walder the Crimson Shadow, Zong the Black Wolf, and Lady J Book Nerd. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.